All right, ready to dive into some Bitcoin surprises.
Let's do it. Always up for uncovering the unexpected.
I think we all know Bitcoin's a hot topic, but this deep dive is about going deeper, beyond the headlines, you know?
Definitely. More than just buzzwords, that's for sure.
Well, we've got this super interesting article from a crypto trading platform as our guide today, and I'm already kind of hooked by some of the points it's making.
Oh, yeah. What's got your eye?
Well, right off the bat, it says you don't have to be a miner to get Bitcoin.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a big one. Lots of folks picture those like massive mining rigs, tons of electricity.
Honestly, that was always my image too. Like way too intense for me to even think about.
Totally understandable. But in reality, most people get Bitcoin through trading platforms.
Uh-huh.
It's more like, buying stocks than running a whole operation.
Okay, so mining is not the typical entry point.
Not at all. Mining's way more about the tech behind it all. It's
Yeah.
super complex, resource intensive, all that. Basically, powerful computers solving crazy math problems to verify transactions and add them to the blockchain.
So that blockchain thing, that's like the record keeper for all Bitcoin, right?
Exactly. It's a digital ledger tracking every single Bitcoin transaction ever made. Miners are the ones who keep that ledger accurate and secure.
So they're like the specialized workforce behind Bitcoin.
You got it. Keeping the network up and running.
Fascinating. But okay, once you have Bitcoin, where do you even keep it? Like physically?
Ah, now that's where it gets even more interesting. The article lays out all these different storage options. You've got online wallets like on your phone or computer, and then offline ones too.
Offline wallets, how does that even work?
Some are like hardware wallets, kind of like
Yeah.
a USB drive.
Yeah.
Some folks even keep those in physical safes.
Wait, a safe. For digital currency. That's kind of wild.
Right. But it shows you how people crave that tangible security.
Hmm.
Even in the digital world, they want that feeling of like locking it up.
It's like the digital equivalent of stashing your cash under the mattress.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's funny how those instincts carry over. And speaking of getting started, you don't necessarily need a personal wallet right away.
Really? So if you're just starting out, where does your Bitcoin live?
Well, many of those reputable trading platforms we talked about, they offer secure storage too.
So it's like leaving your money in a bank account. Safer than just having it lying around.
Exactly. It's a good way to dip your toes in and figure out how involved you want to be with, managing your own Bitcoin.
So like a temporary haven. Gives you time to decide.
That's a good way to put it. But it does bring up a good question. How much control do you want over your Bitcoin? There's pluses and minuses to each approach worth thinking about.
We should definitely unpack that later. But first, this next point blew my mind a little. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's divisible way down to 0.0000001 BTC. We call that a Satoshi,
Satoshi, like the mysterious creator Satoshi Nakamoto.
the one and only. And this divisibility makes it super accessible. You can own a fraction of a Bitcoin, just like buying part of a company's stock.
So you don't need to be a high roller to get in the game.
Nope. Small investors are welcome too.
Speaking of getting in the game, though, this whole limited supply thing is wild. Only 21 million Bitcoins ever.
Yeah, and a big chunk of that has already been mined.
Mm.
So built-in scarcity, which obviously has huge implications for its value over time.
A digital asset with a limited supply. That's a whole different ballgame. It's like digital gold or something.
It's a comparison a lot of people make. This scarcity is one of the main things fueling the Bitcoin hype and price speculation.
Totally get it. Makes you think long term, you know. And then on top of that, there's this halving thing. I've heard the word, but never really understood it.
Halving is a biggie. It's hard-coded into Bitcoin's system. Basically, every 4 years or so, the rewards miners get for verifying transactions get cut in half.
So less new Bitcoin entering circulation over time.
Exactly. It's all about controlling that scarcity, stretching out the mining process. They predict it'll go all the way to 2140. That's when they expect all 21 million Bitcoins to be mined.
2140. We're talking long game here. Makes my head spin a little, honestly.
It's a wild concept, for sure. Challenges how we think about currency and value. Plus, it forces us to think about how tech's shaping the future of finance.
Lots to ponder. You know, it's funny, for all the talk about Bitcoin being this like cutting edge thing, the article actually pointed out that the whole blockchain concept is even older than Bitcoin.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I always just assumed they went hand in hand, blockchain and Bitcoin born at the same time.
Yeah, that's what most people think. But it turns out blockchain goes all the way back to 1995, way before the Bitcoin buzz even started.
1995. Wow, what was it even being used for back then?
Get this, the New York Times.
The New York Times. I would never have guessed that. What were they doing with blockchain?
They were using it for document verification. Two researchers, I think their names were Stuart Haber and Scott Stornetta. They came up with this system to create a blockchain specifically to timestamp digital documents. Like, their whole goal was to make sure those documents couldn't be messed with later on.
So creating a permanent record, kind of like unchangeable proof? Exactly. Their system used this algorithm to create a unique fingerprint for each document. We call it a hash now. And that hash got added to this chain of records, basically a timeline. So
Yeah.
you couldn't change anything without messing up the whole thing.
Pretty smart, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So they were like the OG blockchainers without even realizing they were paving the way for Bitcoin.
You could say that. And get this, Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious Bitcoin creator,
Yeah.
actually referenced those researchers' work in the original Bitcoin white paper.
No way. So the roots go even deeper than we thought. It's amazing how these ideas connect, you know? Makes you wonder if those researchers had any clue what they were starting.
Totally. Shows how innovation can come from anywhere, and you never know how ideas will evolve. Plus, it really highlights how blockchain has potential way beyond just cryptocurrency.
So true. Speaking of which, this article pointed out some real-world Bitcoin uses that surprised me. I mean, I knew you could buy stuff online with it, but it's getting way more mainstream.
Oh, absolutely. The landscape is changing fast. The article mentioned Tesla buying Bitcoin, Microsoft accepting it for accounts, even Twitch donations, and travel bookings.
Wait, hold up. Travel bookings. Like, I could book a flight or hotel with Bitcoin.
You got it. Companies like Expedia and others are jumping on board. Think about it, especially for international travel. No more messing with currency exchanges.
That would be huge, GE. Makes you wonder if Bitcoin really could become a legit alternative currency worldwide.
It's a big question for sure. There are definitely hurdles, but the momentum is there. More and more people are using Bitcoin every day.
It's kind of blowing my mind, all these possibilities. Oh, and one more thing from the article that stood out to me. Bitcoin for charity.
Yeah, using this tech for good. I love it.
They highlighted some Canadian charities already accepting Bitcoin donations and even mentioned a website, cryptogiving.ca, with a whole list of them.
Pretty cool to see this kind of innovation supporting important causes.
It's empowering, right? People can donate in a way that aligns with their values. Plus, it opens up new possibilities for giving. Exactly. And it makes you think, could blockchain make charitable giving more transparent, more accountable? Could this be the future of how we support the causes we care about?
Definitely a conversation worth having. There are still challenges to figure out, of course, but the potential benefits are pretty exciting.
Totally agree. Well, we've covered a ton of N in this deep dive. Busted some mining myths, uncovered the hidden history of blockchain, explored all these real-world uses. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for Bitcoin now.
It's way more than just a buzzword, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover and explore in this space.
Wow, I gotta say, this deep dive has really been eye-opening. I thought I knew a bit about Bitcoin, but it's so much more complex and fascinating than I realize.
Right. It's a real rabbit hole once you start digging into it.
Totally. We've debunked myths, uncovered hidden history, explored real-world uses, and yet there's still this big question looming. What's the future of Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's the million Bitcoin question, isn't it? With its limited supply, its growing mainstream adoption, where does it all go from here?
Exactly. Like, will we be using Bitcoin to buy groceries someday? Will it become a global currency? Or is it more like digital gold, a store of value? Or will it morph into something we haven't even imagined yet?
It's hard to say for sure. There are so many factors at play, and the landscape is constantly shifting.
That's what makes it so exciting, though, right? It's like we're witnessing a financial revolution in real time.
Absolutely. And the best part is we're all part of this experiment, whether we're actively investing in Bitcoin or just watching it unfold. It's this massive decentralized phenomenon, and our collective actions are shaping its future.
I love that. It's a reminder that technology can be so empowering. So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to dive deeper, what advice would you give them? Where should they go from here?
Well, first of all, just stay curious. There's a ton of information out there, articles, videos, forums. Don't be afraid to go down those rabbit holes, ask questions, form your own opinions.
Couldn't agree more. This is a constantly evolving space, so the learning never really stops.
Exactly. So keep that curiosity alive, stay informed, and who knows, maybe you'll be part of shaping the future of Bitcoin.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our Bitcoin deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating topic.